1954's Rear Window is a genuine detective story, despite it not featuring a cop as its protagonist. In Silence of the Lambs, Blade Runner, and Cobra, the audience immediately knows the identity of the villain. Though Lecter and Buffalo Bill are mysterious people, we see them killing their victims and have insights on their perspective. Blade Runner gives the audience intimate time with the replicants, allowing us to view their humanity. And Cobra shows us the monstrous nature of the new world, so we can develop a hatred for the criminals. Instead, Rear Window imitates reality. We do not see the crime being committed, and we are never given the villain's perspective, just that of our detective. Rear Window stars Jimmy Stewart as L.B. Jeffries, an internationally published photographer who is recuperating from a broken leg in a small Greenwich apartment. He spends most of his time watching the people outside through his window. He knows none of them, but he finds them fascinating, and even gives each one of them a name.
You remember, of course, Miss Torso, the ballet dancer? She's like a queen bee with her pick of the drones.
He'd much prefer inspecting their lives than his own, as his romantic relationship with the wealthy and glamorous Lisa Fremont, as played by Grace Kelly, falls apart. Jeffries, much to the chagrin of his nurse Stella, Thelma Ritter, believes he cannot marry Fremont because she is too traditional, and never up for danger.
Those high heels, they'll be great in the jungle, and the nylons and those 6-ounce lingerie.
3.
All right, it's 3. Well, they'll make a big hit in Finland just before you freeze to death.
One night after an argument with Fremont, Jeffries hears what he believes to be a woman's scream, and later sees one of his neighbors, Lars Thornwald, as played by Raymond Burr, walk out of his apartment carrying a large suitcase multiple times. Later, Jeffries spots Thornwald carrying knives and rolling up bed sheets, and suspects that the man has murdered his wife.
You didn't see the killing or the body? How do you know there was a murder?
Because everything this fella's done has been suspicious. Trips at night in the rain, and knives, and saws, and trunks with rope, and now this wife that isn't there anymore.
I admit it all has a mysterious sound. Could be any number of things.
Herein lies the brilliance of Rear Window. We never see anything that Jeffries does not. Confined to his quarters, he cannot simply get up and investigate the neighboring apartment, so he has to make by with his binoculars and camera lens. Jeffries is inherently invading the privacy of his neighbors.
I wonder if it's ethical to watch a man with binoculars and a long focus lens. Do you suppose it's ethical even if you prove that he didn't commit a crime?
He is peeking into their lives from far away, and so are we. The audience always shares the same space with Jeffries, and the neighborhood can only be viewed from his perspective. We see knives wrapped up, trunks disposed of, a woman's favorite handbag searched through. Jeffries takes this as indisputable proof something happened to Thorwald's wife. However, the audience knows that Jeffries is always looking for something to photograph, something to observe, and something to distract from his own issues, and murder serves as the perfect distraction. Fremont herself later joins Jeffries' investigation, increasing the possibility that both are just looking too far into a series of coincidences.
Wouldn't believe with it, see?
What?
You and me with long faces, plunged into despair because we find out a man didn't kill his wife. We're two of the most frightening ghouls I've ever known.
Thorwald is a compelling villain because we are unsure that he is one at all. In many of his films, director Alfred Hitchcock would use the theme of an innocent man accused of a horrid crime. In Rear Window, the director flips this concept on its head. The protagonist is the one that could be falsely accusing the antagonist of the crime. Hitchcock is forcing the audience to make a judgment of Thorwald purely based off of his appearance and mannerisms. At times he seems perfectly normal, at others he appears unsettling. Thornwald is one of the enigmas of Rear Window, a puzzle to be solved and a figure to watch intently. Hitchcock elevates Rear Window above other thrillers because of his excellent technique for building suspense. The film starts extremely slow, but there is still tension, which is between Jeffries and Fremont regarding their relationship. Soon after, the source of tension switches to the murder plot. Even in breaks from the main plot line, Hitchcock is building suspense. For instance, Stewart ends up spying on a lady he calls Miss Lonelyhearts, as she appears to fall into a depression, and eventually attempts suicide.
Alright, fellas, let's try once from the beginning.
Miss Lonelyhearts. Oh, call the police.
In the nerve-wracking climax, Jeffries ends up watching helplessly, exactly like the audience, as Fremont sneaks up to the apartment to find clues to prove his theory, right as Thornwald returns home. From beginning to end, there's never a break from some form of tension. Hitchcock doesn't leave the audience time to relax, as every scene contains an underlying drama. Rear Window is the perfect example of using a crime, or non-existent crime, to create an excellent mystery.